Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 631st episode. Harder than I thought that was going to be. I'm the Clown Prince of Wolves, Trust Snell. I'm joined by.
Hey, I'm Mr. Juice, Dylan Muss.
Hello, my name is Taylor Field.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Well, if you haven't guessed, which maybe you haven't by the nicknames, but probably certainly by the title of this episode, yes, we're here to review Beetlejuice, which I've still not got accustomed to calling it that. I just still say Beetlejuice 2, but even when the credits roll up, I'm like, right, this movie's called Beetlejuice. But we are here, if you're curious, because we're not going to talk about in this episode what we thought about the original. We did do a retro last week, so it's all there, breaking that down, some trivia. So it was always fun to go back. It was Dylan Muss's first time watching that. So yeah, there's some good discussion there. Lots of good stuff on the feed, which we'll talk about a little bit later. This isn't coming out that much earlier, but for some people, we got an early screening, so it's coming out like a day early. So as usual, not that anything's changed, but we will make sure that the first bit is completely spoiler free. No hint of a spoiler anywhere near our mouth, our crevices during the first 15 to 20 minutes. And then we will give you a warning, and then we'll get into spoilers. So if you've seen the movie or just listen to it, come back whenever you want, and it will be there. So Dylan, I'm going to start with you. You know, last week saw it for the first time, but now we've all seen Beetlejuice, the sequel, together. Same showing, same time, not same city, but close enough. What did you think of this as a follow-up to, as we talked about, a nearly 40-year-old movie? It's 30-something. So it's I don't know what the distance is. I can't even remember what it's Force Awakens to a new, like Return of the Jedi is. The prequels are in there, so it's kind of iffy. But I feel like it's definitely one of the sequels that has like the longest years in between. Maybe I'll do some trivia and find that tonight.
Do some trivia and find that. Yeah, it's funny coming into this. I feel like I'm in a very different headspace than a lot of people, even just at the theater. It's like, am I taking someone's seat who's been waiting for this for 30 years? Meanwhile, I'm some guy who just saw it for the first time last week. I wasn't really thinking about that. Who cares? You know, get your tickets. You can get them months in advance.
Sucker!
But yeah, for me, it's a lot different. Where like this has not been a highly anticipated thing. It's like I've been watching these trailers this year. I've always wanted to watch the original, but I finally just did last week, coming into this week. So it's all very fresh. But it is funny to have like a legacy sequel like this that I'm really just seeing like a week apart. And it is fun to see just like how some people of age, and like Catherine O'Hara like doesn't seem like any older, but then obviously Winona Ryder was like a kid, and now she's like a middle-aged woman or whatever age she is. So it is fun to come into that way. I had a great time with this movie. This movie is just so much fun from start to finish. It's so creative. The visuals are off the wall, highly random and crazy, but a lot of I don't know, just like good animatronics, like mixed in with CGI in there. It just looks really, really good and unique. I love the setting. I think it, like the first movie when we talked about in that retro, there's not a lot that happens like plot-wise. Like it's a pretty simple movie. It's more of just like a vibe almost. Whereas this one, I feel like there's a lot more going on. There's like an A plot, B plot, C plot, D plot. There's a lot of things going on. But I think it still works, like, because it never really takes it too seriously. It's just all these different characters in the different places, and they intertwine and disconnect at different moments throughout it. But yeah, I just had a great time with this. The music is fantastic. There's a couple sequences in particular that really, really stand out. But it's just such a creative movie, once again, like that first one was. Such a unique, iconic look to it, look and feel. And I just had a blast from start to finish. I don't know if I have any cons of this movie, honestly. Like I feel like I could critique some of the story
Golden
bits,
Geek,
because there's
Smoothie Year.
maybe, I don't know, like 'cause there's a couple characters that if I really break it down on paper, it's like, okay, I feel like they didn't really set this up very well, but it's not really one of those kind of movies. Like I don't need some intricate plot with all sorts of like villains having their big monologue and stuff. Like I'm fine to just have someone who's there for the vibes, and we got a few of those. So yeah, I truly love it.
What about you, Mr. Field? Oh, and sorry, before you go, two of the ones I found was Mary Poppins had 54 years between its sequel. Whoa. And I don't necessarily count this one because it was straight to DVD, or straight to VHS, whatever, but Bambi and Bambi 2, 63 years apart. So again, like I said, that was a straight to DVD Disney one, but still, it does count. So Blade Runner was another one with a 35-year gap. And then there was some people were making jokes at Avatar at the time when this thread was coming out. Taylor, you may know this quickly. Death Race 2000 and Death Race 2050, are those in the same universe? I feel like you like.
I have no idea. I've only seen Death Race 1 with Jason Statham. I don't know what happens after
Well,
that.
that's there. I think people are saying that's the sequel or remake. That's iffy because I think it's a remake or not. But if not, that one has 42 years. So there's a couple that have it beat, but it's not.
Can you imagine if for Tarantino's final film he decided to do a
Ooh.
Death Proof sequel?
Yeah, and he
That'd
has
be
to wait.
wild.
He has to wait 64 years to beat Bambi.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he just waits for that and then does Death Proof after all these years.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm not waiting for anymore? Taylor, your thoughts?
Uh, I absolutely love this movie. I think this was a super fun time. I was laughing. And if I was concerned about the humor of this, it was the fact that, okay, you have a movie like Deadpool and Wolverine and that humor, and I feel like, is this going to be kind of piggybacking off of that humor a little bit? Not at all. I feel like this just makes its own. It makes its own position, makes its own kind of quality with the humor and the jokes and everything. Michael Keaton, it's like years since the first one, you wouldn't even know it. He just slides back into this character so freaking well. I can't believe it. I think everyone did great. I didn't need a lot. Like Dylan, you said, it's not that kind of a movie where you don't need all these like huge like monologues or major backstories. Things are very simple, and I appreciate that. There were a lot of surprises in this movie that you don't get from the trailers, which again I'm very thankful for, because made going into this movie so much more enjoyable. Like, oh, this is a cool little twist. I'm very excited about this kind of plot progression here with these characters. It's pretty awesome and fun and visually entertaining. The practical effects are great. Not a spoiler, but just sandworms. The fact that just they looked so great in this movie, just the fact like everything that they introduced in that world of Beetlejuice in the first one, and they brought it into this film, and just with the technology. Yes, some movies are very questionable with CGI these days, but I felt like just the way that they did things in this movie, and just visually, it was just so nice to see it just in that higher quality upscaleness. And I really am happy that we got this movie. I feel like I already want to go see it again right away, because I had a good time. I had a really, really good time with this. This is probably going to be like a staple Halloween film for me now, in the month of October, because this is just this is a good time. And I walked out of that theater feeling good in my stomach. Like, yeah, I had some good laughs. So
There you go. Well, look, he left to go watch it already. Oh, he's really wanting to go see it.
I just watched it again. It's fucking great.
Oh, wow.
Even better the second time.
10 times speed. Yeah, I think I'm the lowest on this out of you guys. I don't have major cons. I think I still enjoyed it. I still had fun. I still passing it. It's still not like just a mediocre pass. It's still like I won't say higher end, more middle end, so I'm sure you can maybe guess where it is. But I had a fun time. Maybe not every joke hits for me. It's not as, I think, smooth as the first one. I think there is a lot going on. And not that that's a bad thing here, because I'm not looking for, the intricate plots. I'm not looking for complete character development, Beetlejuice. I'm looking for a good time. And I did have that. I didn't have nearly as good time as the first one. I think it does a good job for the most part. There's maybe one sequence that is very legacy sequel where it's okay, we're doing pretty much the exact same thing here we go, but for the most part they follow different story beats. Like even Lydia, who was a main character in the first one, she acts as a very different function in this one as the main character. Even then she wasn't the main character, right? We talk about Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, she was, but this one she is like the main character, and that's like it's a lot of Winona going on for an hour 44 and stuff. So I did enjoy it. I think Keaton slides right back. He's great. I'm being selfish because even the first one he's not on that much, but it's like I really would like even a little bit more, because I know like this is probably the end of the road for Beetlejuice. I would imagine, like maybe not, maybe there'll be a third and they'll be like, oh, this just blows up. But I'm gonna take it as okay. But I'll just happy with more what we got. Justin Theroux is tons of fun in this movie. I have loved them since two movies that happened at the same time, when I saw Zoolander and Charlie's Angel Full Throttle. Very different, but I can know why he's maybe not everyone's cup of tea, but I just love when he sinks in, and he's great at his type of humor. Catherine O'Hara is great. Jenna Ortega is good, but like they don't ask much of her to do. I can see why she gets the with credit. It's a very just kind of like, we got Jenna Ortega. Defoe, though, he's fantastic. Like, no big surprise here, right? Me and us talking about Defoe being great, but that's hence the name. Loved that character. Loved a lot of the aspects of the world that they try to be as practical as possible. Like Taylor said, seeing the claymation sandworms updated now looked really good, because I feel like sometimes people go, oh yeah, we're going to use the exact same thing we did back 40 years ago, 30 years ago, and today, and now because technology's caught up, you're like, oh, that actually doesn't look too good now. Like, maybe don't do that, but it looked really good. Score, I don't think, is nowhere near what that first one is. There's nothing there. Obviously, that's different because that's been burned in my mind for years, but even just, there wasn't too many unique tracks. I thought there were more, the hits that I liked were the same as before, which is not a bad thing, but it's nothing that's like, oh, they really expanded. Like when like John Carpenter came back to do the new Halloween. It was like, okay, he played the hits, but then he had a whole bunch of new stuff that really worked. We're here, Elfman, to me, Elfman's not really been great for, I don't know, couple decades now. It's kind of the same here. So yeah, I had a good time with it. I think it is a better legacy sequel. I think there's certain subplots and stuff you could just maybe cut, and this could even flow even better. Like with this one being hour 44, the other one being an hour and a half, I think you actually could get this down to an hour and a half, and it might make it a little better. So I had a good time. That happy it exists. It probably will be in the road. It's good enough that I think it will justify the double watch now. When I watch Beetlejuice, I think it will be a 1-2. So I think that's the highest compliment I can give it, because there's many legacy sequels that, oh yeah, they're good, they're fine, but I might disregard them or not watch them every, with the pairing, might be every couple of years. This, I think there's enough good carryover that I would watch combined with the first one. So yeah, enjoyed it. Didn't love it. I don't think it's going to be in like my top 10 or even 20 for the year, maybe something like that, but still had a really good time, and the girls had a good time too. Nothing too scary. You got a cool popcorn bucket. It's the sandworm, and it goes into a bucket. I'll try to get at some point, but it was worth the $30. So
It's just like Dune, another sandworm type of popcorn bucket.
the sequence
This one's way better than the Dune.
I'll get it. Hang on.
The Dune one, I mean, that's sparked a whole sexual controversy, right?
For you or for
Definitely not for me, not on a personal level, no. But this one's pretty hype.
Tried to
Just
see
pull
it.
it
Terrible
up.
for the audio listeners, but that's why you turn the YouTube
That's
video.
Oh,
on,
okay.
so-
Much different than I was expecting.
Yeah.
There's no
yeah.
sand involved in this one.
Well, there is in the popcorn. They put like you
Little
get the
grains
butter,
in
and they
there?
just so the whole
Yeah.
time you're just like crunching away. But no, I saw it, and I was like, okay, I already thought about getting a bucket because we didn't have a bucket. Usually I like to bring one to space up the popcorn, and I just had a feeling like, I bet the Beetlejuice one might be cool, and it was. So I'm like, okay, they got the $30 for me. And
So you knew the theater had the Beetlejuice one beforehand?
no, I just thought I saw a cool bucket, and I just thought Beetlejuice got to have a cool bucket, right? Like, there's a lot of things you could do. Like, even like we were in Hot Topic this week, like the merch. There's a lot of fun things you can do with Beetlejuice. So I was like, I bet they got a cool bucket. I'm ready to buy a bucket. They did also have like sweet corn, they called it. It was popcorn dyed green, but I did not get that because I thought that could be a risk for me and the girls, especially the girls. So
Just puking on the way home.
yeah, I did not want to not like the popcorn there. So, but I think we'd all recommend it. Dylan, our theater was like, say about like half full, but it's also a Wednesday screening. What was yours looking like over there?
It was jam packed. I don't think there was
Nice.
Well, I mean, when I got my ticket, as I said, I got it quite late. There was like 3 or 4 spots left, and they were in like the very front row. So I didn't see if those ones got sold out. But yeah, it was loaded. People were excited to get their juice on.
So yeah, they got to get that juice, and now they're getting the GV juice. But yeah, I think that's one thing too. I'm excited to see how it goes through the next few weeks. If it can hold on and keep being viewed until Halloween, I can see it being a spike, because theater we are in loved it. Everything Keaton said, they were having a good time. Like, it's definitely a crowd pleaser type of movie. So I think it's gonna have like good word of mouth, and it's a good like. There, as someone that brought their kids to it, there's nothing that risque. There's like one like maybe sexual scene, but it's all like shadowed and stuff. But like there's
There
nothing.
were a few kids there too, actually.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, and they didn't really have like a big jump scare in this. I feel like it's minus, but it wasn't like a big like burn or anything like that. Like I thought, oh, there'll be one that'll get the girls, but there wasn't anything in this movie that was kind of going for that. So yeah, if you wanted to see it with your kids, it's definitely, I think, like if they like this type of stuff, like more like a PG horror, I think you are fine to take them. There's nothing crazy here. So I guess there's one F-bomb, but the original has one F-bomb, right? So all right, anything else? Non-spoilers?
No, I think not.
All right, we will take our first break and then we'll be right back. And we're back. So let's get into some spoilers. Where do we want to go first? You got the juice, you got the deets, you got
I'd love to start at the storyline that was not advertised and unexpected, where Ortega's character meets this boy, and right away I thought, okay, this has to be a ghost. This is how it's introduced, and I love that whole setup. I love that it was actually him just like being kind of a bad guy, and the way they just ended his story
kind
was
of a bad guy. Taylor
kind of a
says,
bad
"Man
guy.
who murders his parents is kind of a bad guy." In Taylor's
The
books.
way they ended his story was fucking hilarious. It's gotta be my most favorite part of the movie. I was dying laughing at that. It was great. But I love that they didn't put that into the marketing at all. And I thought it was a great introduction. Of course, when you see like the book is there and you don't get to see the parents head on, you think, okay, maybe he's alive and maybe he can see ghosts too or something like that. But as it unravels, I think it's pretty well done.
Yeah, I feel like thinking back on it now, I feel like the marketing was really trying to hit the nostalgia factor, right? Playing the music, showing off like similar set pieces, reminding you of like the characters and actors that are in this, and then showing like a little bit of craziness, but in like really quick cuts. But even then, like I think it showed. Wasn't there a sandworm like in the trailer as well, or am I?
yeah,
just,
they
one
at least
of
show
them,
one of
yeah.
those. Yeah.
yeah. So I feel like they're tackling some of those same things again. But yeah, so I think it makes sense to not show that because that might be something that people don't want to see necessarily. I think it was like used just the right amount. I think if they dug down and that had like twice as much screen time as it did, I would have not been too into it because it was kind of like a pretty one-dimensional thing. But yeah, I think it was a fun sequence. I think it made sense for the characters and the world. I feel like it was pretty obvious what was going on there, at least somewhat. I didn't catch on immediately that he was a ghost, but definitely when his parents, when you don't see their face when she's walking through the house, I'm like, okay, something's going on here, absolutely. And then it kind of obviously clicked in with some of those reveals there and his ulterior motive. When he's having her say this line that is like some incantation in another language, it doesn't
it's
mean
never
what
good.
she thinks it's gonna mean. But it all works out in the end, of course. But yeah, I like that sequence. I thought it was good. I think they had good chemistry, given that they didn't really have a ton of scenes together. And kind of to what you were saying, Travis, like, yeah, I guess I was surprised at how, like, Jenna Ortega, she's in it a lot, but she doesn't feel like she's the star of the movie, which is what I thought the angle we were going for, which honestly makes a lot of sense. Even with Beetlejuice doing the retrospective last week, me being surprised that like, oh, the movie's actually more about these characters than these other ones that I was expecting. So I think that kind of makes sense, and it focus on the characters from the original movie. That does make a lot of sense. But I think even some of the scenes that they have together, her and that boy, I forget his name. Like, I feel like she's not really saying a lot. She's kind of just like walking around. She's looking at him. She has like a couple quips here or there, but yeah, it's a pretty I don't know, subdued performance for the most part. And it's a lot of it's just like her being angsty teen, like scoffing in the corner and things like that, which of course she's good at.
Which that's what was surprising. It's just so funny where I feel like Wednesday happens and everyone says, "Oh, they do Beetlejuice, they got to get her," and like everything that people forecast happened, right? But then that's where I was kind of surprised that with Winona Ryder, when she's in the first one, she has that gimmick of, yeah, she's angsty teen, but it's also the like death becomes me and all this type of stuff, where she's just like a regular girl. They try to play with this like activist storyline, but that doesn't go too far. It's just that, hey, my dad was one and I want to make change too, and that's about it, and that's okay. Like, I genuinely feel it's just
My
that
dad
whether
was studying spiders in the Amazon.
yeah, yeah, studying fish in the Atlantic Ocean or whatnot. But like that, before I forget, why I had this question a few times. Why is his dad a worker there? Because I felt we had a moment of realization of, oh man, all these people that are workers in this underworld, they're people that have taken their own life. But it didn't seem like that was the route this time, because I feel like there's multiple characters that were workers but didn't seem like they had taken their own life. When we met Danny DeVito, they showed that, and they showed, okay, clearly there's some guy, I guess, for some reason drinking cleaner or whatever it may be, just to take his own life. But that's what I was a little confused about. But maybe I'm
I
wrong.
want to say like it is convoluted, but I kind of took it as okay. He's an activist, a protester, and you see earlier on like one of
okay.
those like oil spill like activists
Yeah,
who's
we got
coated in
another
oil.
one.
Yeah, so I kind of thought maybe he's in the Amazon, maybe the rainforest, maybe
The
he was doing
Amazon.
something to stand up, and it just ended in him like sacrificing himself in a poor decision, and he got killed for it. So that's how I kind of took it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when they talk about the death, I wondered if we were going down a route that he is actually alive out there somewhere because they had never found his body is like part of the thing that they say, or at least that's what Astrid believes, and so maybe Lydia knew that his body was found and didn't want to like tell her because it'd be traumatic or something like that. But yeah, I definitely thought that was going to go a different way at first. So I was a little surprised to see him there. But that, yeah, I guess we kind of have to headcanon that a bit because I didn't even think about that during the movie. I kind of forgot about that detail that they're supposed to be like specific people that are put in these roles. But I don't
And maybe
know.
it's just a different department too, because maybe
Yeah.
that's the immigration and stuff. Maybe that is, even the actors thing. Maybe it's that he also wants to help the dead people out, so he's there. So
Yeah.
I can make it work. I was just trying to think in my mind when we thought about that, all the jobs in the last one. But again, that is more like the dead afterlife waiting room or whatnot area. So
Yeah, it was interesting to see a little bit more of the afterlife area, but not a ton more. Like we really just saw the immigration area and then like the Soul Train like platform, and those are like the new spots that we get to. But I think it was good that they just still had like were pretty refrained with that for the most part. To
Yeah.
leave some mystery there. But yeah, good point on that.
yeah, no, I think we got that same corner like we did before. There's a little bit more. I got what they're going with for the Soul Train. I didn't exactly love it. I thought it was maybe I didn't need to return to it, but it was maybe just like a bit too on the nose to me to make it like literally a 70s Soul Train type of vibe. I get it, but it just I don't know, didn't work for me. The thing that I was surprised with the dad, I was kind of hoping I actually I guess the fish were fine. I just felt like the fish maybe took away when they're trying to do the dramatic scenes, but I was wanting a lot more from that scene when they all three together, but it went by very fast. It was, hey, like I love you both and I don't want you to fight because of me. And then Jenna and Winona look at each other, give each other a head nod, and then they hug, and that's it. Like I wasn't saying like I need the best writing. It was just it felt like it was like you said, the fact that they didn't show his body or didn't know. I thought okay, there's gonna be a bigger thing with it, and there wasn't. So I was like, okay, it's just gonna be the emotional string for these characters, and it still was. Don't get me wrong, they still checked that box, but I thought it was going to be a more like just even a bigger speech from him, but it wasn't. And that kind of happened with everything where it was him. It was when the grandfather died, when Catherine O'Hara died. No one really cares when people die in this movie. Like, oh, that sucks. Like, yeah, like all the snakes. Yeah, the snakes. Like, they don't have this moment where it's like, oh, now I'm not going to see my grandma for like ever now, it's there's a weird thing, and I get that because now they can see ghosts, but I was waiting for a little more with the dad. And even at the end when they were going to see, which we'll talk about the ending, I was not a fan of that scene when they're going to see Dracula's castle. I thought they're going to do like a Star Wars Force Awakens thing because he said, oh, I'm always watching you guys. I thought you're going to see him watching them go to the castle and his presence is kind of there, but they didn't. They did whatever they did at the end there, which I found a little questionable there.
I think a fair point with some of that for sure. Man, I totally had a point, and I just got lost on it. So
Talked about the dad, the fishes, bigger scene.
yeah, oh yeah, that's what it was. Is like I thought it was a weird choice. I guess it makes sense. They like Lydia couldn't see him, and that's why she couldn't be like the communicator for him in the afterlife.
Yeah.
With Astrid, and that's part of the reason Astrid didn't believe in that, because like, well, why can't you talk to the one person that I actually want to talk to? So it was a weird choice that like, okay, even in the afterlife area, Lydia can still not see him, but she can hear him. Like I was a little unclear on that. Like it sounds like she can hear what he's saying, but she can't see him, so it made that connection like a little bit awkward. But yeah, I guess the way I took it is like, and Astrid even has that line where she's like, oh, I just wanted to say goodbye to him, and it's like, okay, well, she got the chance to do that, but she did seem very like chill about the whole thing. Like she had a smile on her face when she was saying goodbye, even though it should be like a way more dramatic thing. But I also just see it as like he's gonna come find them, like where like he's
Yeah.
gonna come find the house or whatever that they go live in. Maybe they
That's
have
what
a
I thought
way
was
to
gonna happen in the
communicate
end.
that.
I thought he was gonna find them, and then they didn't. They did this weird, this like a dream sequence to end the movie, which I found like it worked. It was fun comedically. I liked. Okay, it was odd little turn. We go to Dracula's castle. I like that. And then John Ortega sees this good looking dude. They get married. We jump to the birth, and I liked the Beetlejuice gimmick and everything like that. But it felt like I said this to you when we got out of there. It felt like a almost end credit scene of like, oh, let's do something fun here, because it's weird to. It wakes up and then she's it's crazy dream. It looks over Beetlejuice in bed and then wakes up again and then it rolls to credits. So I wasn't sure if that was them also trying to be like, well, we could always do a little bit more. I don't know, but I didn't love it as the ending of the movie. It was just an odd ending for me. The actual whole double dream sequence.
Yeah, I agree. It almost like I feel like a lot of people don't like. I don't know if I need to spoil this movie, but like it kind of has an ending like that in Parasite, and some people don't like that where there's like what could be in the future, and like maybe that is what happens, but maybe not. I agree. That was maybe my one thing that I didn't like about this movie was that ending. I just didn't feel like I needed it. I don't know. I guess I maybe wanted a happier ending. I suppose. So maybe that's too simple-minded of me. I gotta have something a little more dramatic. But like, I don't know. I didn't really need this ambiguous ending of like, oh, is he truly gone or not? Assuming that he's definitely not gone. Because when she started seeing visions of him again, it meant that he was out there trying to connect with her again. And that's
what
happening
changed?
again.
Because she just said his name 3 times, which has happened in every movie. He disappears, but he's not like. I know for some reason this time he like blew up into a big bubble and popped, but I would assume he's just still kicking it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on the dad and the ending? You didn't chime in there.
Yeah, I think his appearance was very brief, but I'm happy that we got to see him. The fish definitely was a kind of like a gimmick that pulls you out because you chuckle because they keep making these like
Yes.
noises as they're like gnawing on him for all eternity. But I mean, it's fine. It's something I can overlook. It felt Tim Burton-y. The ending definitely pulls you out. I was not expecting to see that baby again.
They love that baby. They made that baby, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna put this as much as we can." And because I guarantee you, saw Grogu, and I can't wait after this movie. There's gonna be a bunch of fucking little baby Beetlejuice merch. I can see it already. Gross
Yeah,
thing, though.
just a really weird.
Did it highlight the
Weird
Chucky part of your brain, Taylor?
No, it didn't. It just felt like it was its own thing.
Really? I thought it did because he had like the just similar like I guess
And the
Beetlejuice has
eyes
that
too,
there,
like the
but
really
yeah.
bulgy eyes. Yeah.
I'm just like with Ortega's character, that's one thing. But when you're looking at Winona Ryder's character, I just felt like Beetlejuice can manipulate the real world. So when he like burst her stomach out and this baby came out, I thought like, didn't you not just kill her? But no, she was clearly fine. It was just
she's okay.
yeah, she was okay. So. But yeah, just the ending. It felt like, as you said, Travis, it could have been a post-credit scene. It did not have to be the actual ending of the movie. Having a little bit of something extra with the dad appear would have been nice. But my con lies in another part of this movie, and it's really the only con I have that I'm gonna dock it my score in reference to. Other than that, though, it's just everything is so minor that I can overlook it, and
what
I
is
really
that
enjoy
con?
it.
Now you gotta spill the beans here. You gotta spill
That
your guts.
con is spill the guts. That con is the in the church, the wedding song that Beetlejuice was doing for Winona Ryder's character. It was just too long. That's my con.
Yeah,
just too long.
Cut a minute from that. It was.
Yes.
It felt like it's. I feel like they were trying to recapture the Deo scene, which is fine. I'm happy they didn't do Deo again because some movies would have done that, right? Of like, oh, that's just everyone loves this. But there was a moment when they all surrounded the cake and Justin Theroux came back. I'm like, okay, this has been on a minute too long. I was with Taylor on that one where it felt like the joke had gone a little too far, even though I did like it because it's a weird touch. I love Michael Keaton lip singing anytime. I can't remember what song they had him sing in the middle when he was on the when he was on the structure and he's playing guitar to Lydia and stuff. So I didn't mind it, but yeah, just tighten it up a little bit, tighten.
Big disagree. I think that sequence is fantastic. And I think it's like it's needed. It's like a big Broadway ending final sequence. To me, it totally worked. And I think the biggest part is just like I love the music in that sequence. The song that he's singing, sure, but then when we also cut to like the little action sequences when Defoe and his crew come through the same tomb, so we cut to like this action tense music, and then it cuts back to them back and forth. I thought that was just really, really well done. And like the whole time, I feel like the movie, like all the threads are being tied up at that point where all the characters are kind of meeting in one place. That's when the soul sucker lady shows up again. Justin Theroux's character Rory, he shows up again at the end too. But I felt like that dynamic. That Wednesday dance was like a big thing, and so I feel like they were trying to replicate a bit of
100%.
that by having Jenna Ortega do like a little dance sequence there with Catherine O'Hara, which I thought was a really fun little duo, kind of right at the end there. So it makes sense that they would go for that. But I think the really interesting part of that for me is I just thought like Winona's acting choices, like her reactions to that were really interesting, where she of course is like freaked out and this whole thing's going on, but I feel like there was also a side of it of like, man, this guy really does love me, and he's putting on like the most epic show of his love, and of course it's weird and Beetlejuicy, but it's also like magnificent and beautiful at the same time. And of course through that whole sequence he's like forcing people to talk and not talk, so it's not like she's explaining any of this. But I just thought that's at least what I saw in that scene, and I think that added a really good dynamic. Now of course at the end she still kicks him to the curb and doesn't want to be with him because he is Beetlejuice. In fact, he just killed like 30 influencers, and those people ain't coming back. I think they're forever stuck in those phones, and just like maybe they all showed up in the afterlife. I'm not sure, but they're absolutely gone. We talked about that. I forget if it was on like a newscast or on the retrospective last week, but those influencers, he did kill those people in my mind.
You think so? I think I think they're just trapped in
I think
the
they're
spell.
But who's gonna bring
Really?
them out?
I say it's something like we don't see it on screen. They pop out of the phone. I think they'll be okay. You know, that's what I'll tell myself, that they're
I mean,
okay.
that's the thing. Like these people presumably were live streaming on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And at least there's like 30 people. All of them have at least more than 5 million followers. So now the whole world is gonna know about ghosts and ghouls and Beetlejuice and all these
Beetlejuice,
things.
yeah.
And maybe they can't see all these things that are happening. Like they can't see Beetlejuice potentially, but they can see like the faces getting sucked off and all this stuff. And I don't know. I feel like the whole world's gonna know about this. So pretty
I
crazy
feel like-
implications there if they ever do a third movie.
Yeah, I feel like, which I do not. I can see the picture already of Beetlejuice like in New York, like it's him in a big city doing some sort of pose. I don't want that, but I feel like if a bunch of people heard about this Beetlejuice character, knowing our world, I think they're gonna say that name. You know, like a lot of people, and there's tons of ladies out there.
True.
that
The Beetlejuice
influ-
challenge. It's gonna be like the next Tide Pod challenge.
Yeah, and I think there's tons of lady influencers that would marry Beetlejuice, 100%. Like that, he's getting
Like the
hitched.
people who like marry serial killers.
Yeah, 100%. They will find Beetlejuice through social media. And no, I agree with you that I thought they were giving some sort of vibes. I thought they were gonna get married at the end because he was kind of doing like influencers, TBD. But like I think we kind of called this and talked about this from the trailers. They are keeping him hidden, but it's like it kind of seems like he might be on the good side this go around, and he kind of was. So he's still doing a selfish thing of like this time he wasn't even forcing Lydia to marry him. It was they made a deal to get married, right?
And he did
so they
help
made
them. Like he
He
helped
did
them
multiple
solve all
times.
the problems that they had when they were there.
He exposed to Just Thoreau, who was like, which I like because I feel like Thoreau's character, I wasn't sure which way they were going to go because there were times he was being selfish, but there were times where it seemed like he might be caring. So I just wasn't sure, was he a caring idiot or was he a selfish idiot? And it ended up being that he was a selfish idiot for wanting. And I could tell but even the pills, at first he was trying to take them away and everything, but then it was probably just to like, because her ghost powers, everything.
I love
but
when
I felt
he
like,
pops one himself when he gives them to her. That's so good.
yeah, so I felt like there was a line there, but the truth serum, that was a good moment. And then he did send the boy serial killer to hell, which I didn't even talk about. That was probably my favorite part of the movie because same thing as you guys. Once they didn't show the face, it's like, okay, something's up here. I lean over the table, I'm like, these people are dead, right? Like, we're all picking up on this, right? But I liked the twist of it was that he killed them and not the original story of
Right.
he died and the parents maybe died of old age. It was, okay, he's like a little Ted Bundy type of character, and I think that was good. And I was happy that was the case because when we met him, I was like, do I really want Ortega's character to have a love interest for like the rest of the movie and like him be at the wedding? Like, there's a version of this movie where everything goes and he's the same guy and the hijinks. He's like, oh, look at this family I'm in now. Like, I didn't want that. I was so happy it was okay, just this kind of asshole guy that's taking advantage of her. I think the reveal was good when they kiss and they float and little things are like, okay, he's still in the 90s and he has the book, but he just says he got it at a yard sale, but clearly has the book because he's dead. So I thought that was a very fun, very, Disney Channel horror movie type of twist, but like, I think Beetlejuice works in that kind of Goosebumps Disney Channel kids for movie horror ones, and it works as far as like I imagine younger people watching this. So and yeah, that guy was good enough. That's stuff where I tried not to think about because it'd be like Beetlejuice and Lydia are trying to find the daughter and the killer, and then Beetlejuice, I gotta go to the washroom. And then after that, he like bumps into Catherine O'Hara, and he's like, well, where are they? Can you help me find them? And then he's back in the line. He sends the guy to hell. It was very like odd pacing for me of where Beetlejuice was popping up because sometimes he would just know exactly where they are, and then in one scene he's asking, Mrs. D, it's like, hey, I have no idea where they are. Can you help me? Even then, like, why did he even go to the? I know why he did story wise, but why did he go to the washroom at that exact moment? Well, it's because he would just be OP and own everybody, right? So there's a few things where it feels like there's like scenes that are kind of missing and whatnot. But I like we got the one F-bomb. I hate any movie that bleeps an F-bomb. I hated that they bleeped it at the end, that you already used your one F-bomb. So it just feels weird for him to say like, see you later, fucker. And he hits the thing. And then when the soul sucker comes back, he's like, oh, fuck. And they bleep it. Hate that. I just don't like, I think, didn't Mario do that too? I can't remember recently another movie that they didn't say the F word, but they said something. And that's not a gimmick you'll ever see me use. I don't like beeps in a movie. It takes me right out of
But
it. Not in
Taylor
a
will
good
do
way.
it on the ones he's directing.
Yes, of course. He can put as many beeps as he likes in there.
Do you mean in the
know?
animated Mario movie they did a bleep a fuck you in there?
Oh, maybe it wasn't. No, I don't think it was that. No, was it Fro? It wasn't Fro. It's some very popular movie, and they did it, and I was like, I don't like that. Oh, it was Puss in Boots. That's what they did, and that was a weird one because it's just like Shrek's already done that. I digress. Just don't like that, but
Good to know.
yeah.
Another, I think there are definitely criticisms that could be made about the story details, and like there's a lot of conveniences, a lot of
Of
coincidences in this, and for whatever reason, like they just don't bother me in this movie. Like the fact that Astrid, I keep forgetting her name for some reason. The fact that she can't see any ghosts until this family, like that's very, very convenient. The fact that Lydia can see presumably every single ghost in the world except for the husband character, kind of weird and convenient. The fact that it seems like everyone can see the shrunken head ghost people, like I don't know, did they come to reality or are they there as ghosts? I was a little confused about that when they went through Beetlejuice's bomb door there. Like, are they just back in the real world or are they?
I took it as they're back in the world, like everybody can see them because they.
But don't they have to like do some? Like they can't just. You can't just re-enter life.
I think
like
it was because
that,
it was
right?
just a back door, right? That it kind of fudged around with it a bit.
Like
I
even
guess I
Catherine
just-
O'Hara, like she just kind of comes back to the church scene and then like heads back out again. There's definitely some confusing things for me in terms of if I really think about it, which I wasn't when I was watching the movie.
Which is the same thing as like, I think we had that with the first one, right? And that's even me like to question myself and my sanity. I gave that movie a 10, but I think there's multiple times we talk about it where like, okay, if you pick this apart, this doesn't really make sense. And like,
I
what
just
is
find the first movie
Beetlejuice?
so much simpler, so you
Yes,
don't really
there's a lot
notice
of
those things as
things.
much. Whereas this, there's so much more going on and different characters doing different stuff that it maybe stands out a bit more.
Which I think they're kind of lampshading it a bit, but I still appreciated when they go through the door, the emergency exit, and they land on the sand planet, which looked very, the way the sandworm was moving, very Dune-like. Like the things were, the sand was moving up
I
and
think
down.
they're definitely playing that up. Yeah.
So that happens, but then I like when Ortega's like, oh, this must be like the sand. She's breaking it all down. She's like, oh, it's a moon of Saturn. She's like, oh, the rule, like, she says like the rules or location, something about like the world of the dead doesn't really make much sense. And that to me was kind of like, oh, that's just kind of like Beetlejuice in general, right? And that might be a bad reason for it, right? But it's like, we're just doing this because we like it and whatever. Because it's like, okay, when are these cops, these dead cops, really busted out. Like, why were they not after Beetlejuice at all in the first one, right? But it just, we're just having fun with it, right? And same thing like Defoe's character. That character, even the bride character too, I don't think they really need to be in this movie, but the Defoe character, I just love this idea of this actor who was using a hand grenade that I guess
I
ended
didn't
up
know it was a real grenade.
he didn't know it was a real one, so it took his life and part of his face. And I like that he is. I feel like because he wanted to continue that role of the action hero, he went to them and like, I'll be a cop, I'll be a detective. And I think Defoe, who can always like cheese it up, he cheeses it up to like the really right amount of. He just looks like he's having such a good time here when he's giving his speech and he has the cue cards. I love the little back and forth he had with like whoever his helper was. It was very like a femme fatale, sort of like Blade Runner. Detective Moore, where there's always like some pretty blonde girl or brunette, and that's giving him stuff. And I thought like Defoe was just
to be like always giving him coffee so that he can dramatically throw it on the ground, which I think is just the best detail when they cut to like his garbage can and there's just 30 cups of coffee right there. So
like
good.
That's something where it's just like it doesn't add really much things to the plot, but it adds just such a fun element, and I really enjoyed that. And same thing, I could take like a little bit more of him. I would maybe cut the soul sucker because I was kind of that's the thing I was probably disappointed with the most is her character. Thought it was a cool design. I liked it, but I didn't think her scene, they didn't really matter much, especially because she just gets taken up by that sandworm the same time as Thoreau, right? So it didn't feel like this big moment. It just feels like maybe because she's dating Tim Burton, it's like, well, I got this cool role for you and let's put you in here. So really, that's like an edit I would make. Like, I think you'd literally just take her out of the movie and it changes nothing because him getting back to Lydia has nothing to do with this wife. It's with the dad dying. It's with Jen Ortega finding out. It's with them going back for the funeral. Has nothing to do with, hey, I'm about to die. Could you marry me? And maybe this will like break the curse or something like that. It's literally, she just comes to the end like, oh, right, you have to kill her. But it gives Michael Keaton some great one-liners. And somehow I didn't mind like the mini origin they gave him. Sometimes I go, do you want to do that?
Love that scene.
That was
so
fun.
Good.
Yeah.
Black and white, like the whatever Spanish voiceover that we got
he
there.
busts into it. Yeah,
It
was a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely fair to criticize that character because most movies would have that character capture Lydia, right? Because then that can like get
Absolutely,
her to Beetlejuice.
right?
But like, how would she know about Lydia? Like that wouldn't really make sense. So instead, she just walks around hallways, soul sucks people, and then like moves on to the next one.
Well, I thought they were doing that when she found his desk because remember she finds the picture and stomps on it of Lydia.
Right.
So I thought, oh, this is how we're gonna get the
True, yeah.
connection, but it didn't happen.
So yeah, it's kind of strange. Like it doesn't really go anywhere. But I don't know. I like the characters for the like. I think she was a fun villain, even though she doesn't really like align much with like the actual characters in this movie. She's more just on the side killing random side characters, unfortunately. But I think for me, it's like, well, first I was like, man, is this like canonizing this with like the Addams Family? Because she just looks exactly like the mom from
Morticia.
Addams Family. Yeah. But clearly it's just Burton's aesthetic and all that.
Even the hand though
The
too.
hand,
Like yes.
definitely playing it up. But I gotta say that character introduction, it's got to be like one of the best like character introductions of all time. Breaks
It was
out of
a
this
fun
box,
time, yeah.
these body parts just coming together, stapling herself up, and then picking up Danny DeVito and sucking the soul out of him, turning him into like a little fucking Valley Village Halloween costume thing, raggedy on the ground there. So yeah, I think to me she added to the movie. Even I think partially what adds to it is that she had like very little screen time, so it didn't feel like it made the movie drag on. It was just like every once in a while we quick cut to a quick shot and she's taking out some random lackey. So I don't know. I think it was fun. It didn't really detract from the movie at all for me. I also love I think it's the second guy that she kills, the guy who is like the dry cleaner. And like when the cops have that set up there and they have like the chalk outline of his body, it's just like this mini little chalk outline around his like shrunken body. I feel like there's so many little details that I'm just gonna forget in this review. Because I feel like so many shots in this you just pause and really admire the artistry, like the little jokes on the side or like the little detail they went to make this scene feel more fun and energetic than it needs to be. There's just so many little details in this movie that made me so happy.
It's the newspapers I want to pause on and just like read all the articles and the headlines.
Yeah, good stuff.
Tay, what do you think about the bride and Defoe there? You didn't talk about him.
Yeah, Defoe was great. He was cracking me up. He was just such a funny character, being the actor who wants to be a real detective here, and Yeah, just he really, really was having fun with it. I think the bride, the ex-wife, yeah, she wasn't anything like I was thinking. Okay, we're gonna have like the super crazy evil villain. This is what she's gonna be, but she wasn't that. She was more low key, and I'm actually kind of happy about that. There were so many different storylines that were kind of over branching with each other and intertwining, and so her just kind of like sauntering around trying to catch up to Beetlejuice. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, and I know this was obviously in the trailer, but just seeing it on the big screen and seeing how it was sized up when Willem Dafoe's like, have you seen this woman? And Beetlejuice's eyes and tongue pop out of his head, and then it goes back, and he's like, "No, I've never seen her." Like,
No, in my life, in my afterlife, I've never seen her at all.
yeah, that really really cracked me up.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was very cool how she was introduced, and like what was it called on the shelf? Um, unclaimed parts.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just clever because you see that written on the shelf, and then the boxes open up, and it's actually just parts. It's like, oh, that's clever.
Very clever.
Very clever. Yeah. I got a place. If no one has a place.
Place us.
Place it.
I was surprised how much screen time, and obviously it's not the actor, but how much screen time the character of the dad got
Absolutely.
in this movie. I thought we saw the grave in the trailer. That makes sense. Kill him off. For whatever reason, he can't be a ghost. And they even said in this one, but you get a claymation sequence, which, they show the
So
full actor how
good.
he looks.
So
But yeah,
good.
that was really cool of how, this is how he died. He drowned? No. Did a plane crash? No. The shark got him. Okay. Then later on, you see him going into the lobby. He is half eaten. All his shoulders and head completely gone. He can still talk. When he talks, he spritz out and everything like that. Catherine Herrick's character is like very sad about his death because it is a partner. She doesn't know how she's going to go on without him. Does a whole seance, which leads to her death. Classic fashion of buys these, unvenomous snakes. Like the venom's been taken out or they've been defanged, but they haven't. So bad deal. And then at the end, they get reunited to go on the Soul Train forever. So I was surprised how much of an aspect that was in the movie. And that's fine because it's a character that's in there. Obviously, there's different stuff with the actor nowadays that aren't good, but it's still the character for the movie. I still don't know if they had to do that, but I was surprised they did. And yeah, and it gave us some fun stuff of like Thoreau. Like I think he got a lot of fun one-liners about pretending he knew the grandfather and saying, oh, he'd want this proposal and everything. Catherine Herrick, like, he hated big speeches. Like there was some good comedic gems in there, but yeah, that threw me off guard there.
Yeah, I think that was my biggest surprise, especially hot off our retrospective last week and then our conversation about that
Yeah.
actor and what's happened with him, which is not good stuff in recent times. I love that his grave was a shark fin. It was shaped
Yeah.
like a shark fin. That was a really great detail. I love when he's in the lobby waiting room and he sits down on the bench and he's next to a surfer who clearly also got bit in half. And they just, throw the hang loose out there. But I love that he's just like a bumbling fool. Like he's just walking around the afterlife.
Yeah.
People don't really care about him. People don't really know who he is. Always the blood spurting out. He just doesn't really seem to understand what's going on, which makes sense if he lost all of his organs that provide him any sort of hearing and vision. So yeah, I was very surprised by how much he was in it and how much the movie really revolved around the death of his character and how big of a deal it was. But yeah, I think it really worked, and it's kind of an impressive thing to do. I feel like something like I don't know if Tim Burton considered having Alec Baldwin in this movie, considering the controversy around him, which is very different than the controversy around this actor that I already forget his name. But it's like they really just brush what happened to that couple, was the Waylands, right? Or the the Mayfairs, whatever. The Maylands.
Yeah.
They
What
really
happened?
brushed that aside in
Yeah.
like a line. And it's like, oh, that's convenient, and they just kind
We
of
found a loop to get him to the afterlife.
Yeah.
Done.
Did you
Fourth
see
wall
them?
reference.
Did you see them actually in the miniature during the intro?
I didn't see them. I saw their
No.
car in the
I
water,
saw
but I
the
didn't see
car,
them.
yeah.
In the intro, it shows like you see the miniatures and everything like that, but as they're getting like to the main house, you actually see the Maitlands climbing up the side of this hill.
Okay, I saw that. Okay, so I didn't know that was them, but
interesting.
okay. So
Yeah.
But yeah, and I feel like we called that in the maybe not as quickly, but I think we called the how would they be in this movie, and oh, they're probably just gonna find their way to the afterlife, and that's exactly what happened, right? And but it was still good. I thought it was a good transition to they do that, and then right away they go up to the attic, and that's when you get the pull the sheets and you see everything again. And we didn't mention the opening credits. This movie is almost identical to the first one, but this time they're using a real city instead of the model this time, which is funny because at the beginning couldn't tell, like it was very far out shots and they're showing things move and everything. So a nice little tribute. It's still better with the models because it's just real world houses and buildings, but
Well, it transitioned very seamlessly because there were some parts were definitely
true. Yeah.
real world. You could see the vehicles, the lights, and then all of a sudden you're looking at like it's a barn and there's a toy horse miniature in the barn. It's like, okay, when did this transition here? It was really, really well done.
Yeah.
And speaking of that too, because they go across the bridge, I really like because I thought this might be an aspect. It wasn't, but there's that segment where it looks like Ortega's gonna die like 3 to 4 different times, and I thought there was gonna be something there that maybe she does die, but Lydia works with Beetlejuice to maybe get a mulligan and get her to come back to the real world, or maybe she would have swapped places. But I genuinely thought there was a chance she was going to die in that segment because I just thought they were doing a bunch of like joke deaths, but then she was going to really die at the end, but she didn't. She just met a guy who did happen to die, so.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's take our final ad break. We'll be back with final thoughts and probably ratings, all that good jazz. We'll be right back. And we're back. Dylan, I heard some breath. We're going to
Yeah, the breath.
speaketh.
The breath is loose. I wanted to highlight that. Winona Ryder as Lydia really gets promoted to the main star of this movie, which I think is great. That's definitely obviously Beetlejuice and Michael Keaton. That's iconic, but I feel like that was definitely the takeaway from that original movie is her and playing that character, and it's become very iconic. And so I think it's very fitting that she gets to be kind of the star of this. The movie really revolves around her. She definitely has the most screen time. She gets to do a bunch of different acting. Like she gets to show off all sorts of different chops, which I was really happy with. I think it was a really, really smart setup that they had for the character, where obviously it's been whatever, I forget, I think it's like 15 years is what they say is how long it's been in this, even though in real life it's been longer than that. It doesn't really matter how many years it's been exactly, but I like that she has taken on this role and turned it into the Ghost House, this TV show. She has her fans, the ghosties, I think she calls them.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. And I think that was a really fun setup for the character. It makes a lot of sense. It's kind of just fun, like to see what she's been doing in the meantime. And then I think it kind of leads nicely into the situation where she has with her daughter, where they're very distant because of what happened with the dad. And how much she doesn't want to talk about it, how much she kind of keeps a lot of that stuff inside, and then she's obviously being just kind of manipulated by Rory and all that. So I think the whole setup around that character was really well done, and I love that there was no debate. As soon as her daughter was in trouble, even if they've had this rocky past, immediately she was like, okay, I know one possible way I could solve this, and even though it's my worst nightmare, I'm going to do it immediately, no hesitation whatsoever. So I just think she got to really shine in this movie. I'm a big Winona fan, so I think it was great to see her on the big screen popping off again.
An elite role
Stranger
like
Things
this.
kind of put her back in the public eye in a big way. People are a big fan of her again, but I think it was really cool to see. So I was really happy to see that.
That Alien Next, lots of alien stuff popping off. You never know, get that cyborg back in there, the synthetic. But before we continue, and I agree with a lot of Dylan's thought and can expand upon that, I forgot to say that if you did not want to listen to any of those ads or get a bevy of different
pesky
benefits,
ads, man.
yeah, Patreon, because that is one way to support us. We very much appreciate. But if you don't want that, the way to support us and get no breaks in the middle, you head over to Patreon. You get every single episode ad free if you join the Phase 2 tier and up. Lots of fun stuff like Fantastic Four retro starting. We have Bread and Butter and the originals, which are exclusive episodes that just recorded in the past 7 days. So just even right now, there's 3 early to exclusive things on there. You get behind the scenes stuff. You get to vote on polls, which should become. We'll probably do a movie night again, like we did last year for October for some Halloween movie. So maybe the patrons will vote on that, and Golden Geeks will be coming up in a few months here. So that's the best way to support us. We're independent content creators, just the 4 of us running this channel, which is a lot because you got about 3 to 4 episodes per week usually. So we would appreciate your support, and anything else you want to do down below. Everything you need to blow. Everything
You need to blow.
Everything you need to know where to rate, review, subscribe, all that
Juice
good
is
jazz.
loose.
So, but yes, I liked the GV juices flowing. Yeah, I like that setup with their character. I actually really liked how they incorporated Beetlejuice coming back, where it was a very disoriented, like in my opinion, a poorly edited, but on purpose poorly edited. Like it was a flashback, but it wasn't like an obvious. Like she sees a guy with a striped shirt, and it's a very quick shot of Beetlejuice eating some popcorn, and then it's like gone. But it's like I feel like usually other movies that might happen, and that Beetlejuice eating popcorn might be like a lot longer, a lot more specific, but it feels like it's just like a frame or two's put in there quickly and then you take it out, and I really like that. And then we got that again later on, but when she was talking to Jenna Ortega's character Astrid, we saw it from her perspective where she saw another guy with a striped outfit and she freaked out and saw Beetlejuice again, but we didn't see Beetlejuice. We just saw what would it be like if you were talking to Lydia while she saw Beetlejuice, but you couldn't. So I thought I like that little thing where again, I can't. How did he actually get back? I was just them saying Beetlejuice, but I don't know why he like because I thought even the dad dying, he's like, oh, now's my time. But that didn't really have anything to do with it. It was Rory saying, oh, let's power you through this, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. So again, some strange like lines drawn of trying to get Beetlejuice back there. But I did like the idea of okay, he's this presence again. I like the idea of him creeping in, even though the more I think about it, that wasn't really an aspect. He wasn't trying to get back to her. He thought about her. He apparently thinks that she's the love of his life, but he wasn't actively like working to get to her. He still needed one of them to say Beetlejuice. And even how he got back to her was of someone else's doing. It wasn't even, oh, he put up that young serial killer kid to kidnap her and stuff. So I like the concept. Maybe now more I think about it, there's some issues, but I still like how it was done in the film of those quick flashes and he's kind of just around. And I like when she tried to explain it to Rory and he didn't buy a single second of it. And that therapist scene was fun enough with lots of visual gags going on. Like I've seen the behind the scenes where that thing with the guts, that's all practical, where they have like a built-in dummy legs and they pull it. And I'm sure there's some CGI for the guts, like glistening and everything, but there is a scene of them just pulling out a bunch of guts out of Keaton. So very fun.
The scene when they're in the church and they're dancing, and you get like the brief little like flashbacks, like overlays of them when they were younger from the first movie. They quickly pan to the shot of the dog. Now that tells me that the haunting at the beginning when she was on like the ghost house show and she's like showing how the dog was being terrified and haunted. So was that Beetlejuice reminiscing that he was doing the haunting in that house? That's how I took it.
Possibly
Wow.
could be. Yeah.
Because there's no other dog featured anywhere else in this
No,
movie.
I didn't
except
understand it. So
the dog at the beginning. So to me, it's like, okay, he was reminiscing about that haunting.
is it
and
the
that's,
same
like,
dog though? That's the question.
Pretty sure it was the exact same dog. Yeah.
Damn, Taylor, that's a freaking deep pull, dude. Nice find.
I don't. Well, if it's true.
Yeah, which was funny because they were doing the L. Ron montage of all the people he had loved, but they only had like Lydia, the dog, and her. So it was I was hoping they were actually gonna throw some different like ghastly characters that we maybe never met in there, like other people he had loved if they were ghost characters, but that didn't happen.
Travis, you mentioned him earlier, but Rory, played by Justin Theroux. I don't know if I've really seen this guy. Maybe I've seen him in something. But yeah, I think like 99% of the humor around his character worked for me, which that's a character that, I mean, he's, intentionally giant douchebag. Could
Yeah.
be very annoying and annoying to the point where it's not funny annoying, but just actually annoying. But I think he pulled it off perfectly. I don't even know what I can say about him. I would just be repeating funny lines or sequence that he had. But I really, really enjoy that character and the humor around him. And I like that he got what was coming to him at the end.
Did you watch? I thought you watched it. Maybe I was wrong. Did you watch the show Maniac with Justin, Jonah Hill, and Emma Stone a long
I've still
time ago?
never seen that movie or that show.
Okay, maybe it was just you were interested in. Yeah, he's in that. He's in Charlie's Angels. He's in he's in Zoolander. He plays the evil breakdance DJ. But he does a lot of these type of assholey kind of arrogant type of roles, and he's pretty good. He plays some splice. I can't remember the name of it, but he's in The Last Jedi. Remember Taylor? He's the actual splicer they want to get, like the master slicer or master code breaker or whatever.
Oh yeah, with the red plume on his jacket or whatever.
He's in that. So he pops up in a lot of stuff, and he's very good. He's not everyone's cup of tea, but he's definitely my cup of tea. I enjoy Justin Theroux a lot. He's always makes things better. Good. Taylor was laughing like pretty much everything that happened with him the whole time. So
Yeah, just the way he was talking about like good vibes and energies, and yeah, he's just such a doofus. So
Him and Mark
yeah.
Ruffalo and Poor Things, you just have a knack for like the loser ex-boyfriend type of character. We got to get you to play one of those in a movie. You like that aesthetic of the very comedic loser boyfriend.
I do. Yeah, sign me up. I'd love to
We'll
get
do
my
it.
Poor Things Mark Ruffalo. Like, get the fuck away from like talking to a dog.
I'll
Or
fuck you up, dog. Like him and Mark, like these two characters, they'd be best friends because they just would be complaining about the women in their life and think they did no wrong, you know. And they're both egotistical. So
Man, oh my god, when the ex bride showed up, and Beetlejuice is like, you need to find someone that really, cares for you. And he snaps his fingers, and his clothes come off, and it says "I love Dolores." That fucking killed me on his shirt. I was dying laughing at that because she looked like she was semi-interested for a second, and then it phased out.
yeah. Anything else that we have not touched upon? Any characters? It's nice to see DeVito. The second he started
Yeah, he was
talking,
so
knew he was there. Very kind of fun. I can't remember if he was in Dumbo, but fun for me. Years later, get like a Batman Returns because he obviously played Penguin and Keaton played Batman. So fun to have them in a Tim Burton film again. It's like Tim Burton likes to do that, but like I said, I can't remember the last time. Taylor, have you seen Dumbo? Were they both in that? I know Keaton was in Dumbo.
I didn't see Dumbo.
Yeah, so maybe they were in there, but for me, I was happy to see, and I liked the look of DeVito's character too. I don't know what happened. I guess that our original gender must have found his way to the afterlife now. Maybe he's in a better place, but
Right.
yeah, now he's. And I did actually like the effect of when their souls got sucked. I liked them just being like these skin bags, very wrinkly, like that. Poor Bob, that character Bob, he went through the fucking ringer in this movie. I actually was mad that he died. Not like I give the movie negative, just that. Like Defoe was intimidating him, Beetlejuice intimidating him. He was hiding under the desk, like all like shivering and scared. And then the soul sucker found him, and he's just scared out of his mind. Poor Bob. I was rooting for him to make it out, and he didn't. So,
Man, random thought, but I was at a museum when I was in Europe last year and saw like an actual shrunken head.
oh,
It's a really trippy thing to see. It's like, man, this is just someone's like actual head from hundreds
Yeah.
of years ago. It's like a very weird. Ugh, it gives me the heebie-jeebies just thinking
It's
about
hard for the mind to process, like a human head that's been taken down to that size. I feel like it'd be the same way if I were to see like an actual mummified person, like if they were break open a tomb and it's
Yeah.
like there's just a person that's
it. It's pretty
been
much
wrapped.
that, but just distilled
Yeah.
into one head.
Yeah,
Crazy.
there's a lot of that. I never saw a full shrunken head, but if you ever go to New Orleans, I recommend you go to like the voodoo areas, and that has like a lot of weird stuff there. That's another story for another time. Like I got some stuff there, but I left it. I was like, same thing. Heebie-jeebies of like bad juju, you know. So, but all those guys look great again because I think most of those were practical. But that's where I like that. Really, there was CGI. Like I think like when they had the cake and it's like raining something, but all the CGI and even then that could have been what is it? They claymation, like they could have done some sort of animation style like that.
Right.
There was no, because I literally just watched a movie today, which is like a smaller, it's Deliverance on Netflix, where there's multiple CGI scenes. It's just a small exorcism film, but they took me out every single time. And it's like, oh, I really wish they just found a way to do it practical, not do it all. There was no, to my knowledge, maybe when I watch again, but there was no big scene where it was like, even if you could tell it was CGI, it was like, oh, this looks really bad, or oh, it took me right out. Like I thought they had a very good mix of the two with this one. So
Yeah, I think my last note might be just once again highlighting all the fun character designs in the afterlife. Man, that like saw trap dude who's like in like a water cage, but he's been like crushed down. I don't know what was going on there, but that was pretty terrifying. And like the Santa Claus who was like burnt to a crisp. I don't know what
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
must have gone through a chimney that was had the fire on, something like that.
That was great. I was really worried what was going to happen there with the kids with me. I'm like, oh, don't make no Santa joke about certain existing or not. I was really worried, and luckily they didn't. And I thought there's other kids, but you never know in some media. It's like, I could see Beetlejuice saying something, but I like those just Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Like he was still jolly enough to say Merry Christmas. You had the guy that died from a hot dog eating
Yes.
contest, it looked like.
Icon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah, and then I guess just also Catherine O'Hara. I mentioned in a retrospective, I was hoping that she would be a bigger part of this movie, and she definitely felt like it. And I feel like with what they're doing with her character, especially this being in a post Schitt's Creek world, it would have been really easy for her to fall into like, okay, the characters are very similar. People love that character. People love Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like go into that, dip into that acting bag, but I feel like she didn't. I feel like she kept on to some of those elements that are
That's good.
crossovers between the character, but I feel like the performance was still something very different and definitely a continuation of that character. So I was really happy to see that. And she's just such a joy. She's always so fun.
Scene
I love that
stealer,
she
you
has
know?
this new job too, where she's like turning her trauma into like art exhibits. And there's this weird exhibit of her just reacting to things in terrifying ways. It's so just weird and silly and stupid, and decorating the house in like black clothing as well is just such an over the top thing that she would do. So
Oh yeah,
I
whatever
loved all
term
that.
she had for it, like some sort of, it's like, it's not this, but it's like a sheet of passing, but it's just like, it's to like keep the house. And I forgot, it's such a random pull. They have like the daughter of the real estate agent
I
who's
couldn't
now
figure
real.
out I hadn't seen the first one enough to like be like, okay, who is this, the same character, different character?
Yeah.
What's going on?
And then even this, like, oh, this is Minnie, whatever. Like they're already saying like that character has a daughter
A
of
lot of
herself
that too,
there.
even with the post credit or the not actual post credit thing, but obviously it's a dream sequence, but kind of like
Yes.
trying to set up the future potentially.
Yeah, so no, I like that. I like that. To me, like the art evolution they gave that character, it all fit. And they even had this video for talking about like, oh yeah, the sculptures were past me, so on to evolve. And it's just like quick little stuff where you don't even have to have exposition. It's just on the side in a video in a museum, and you get a little stuff of, okay, she's doing this type. I had a thought. Oh, what I did like, and this is one where a good thing a legacy sequel can do, it improved on the original, because they were at one point talking. It was when they're on the porch, and Wino's is like, you really didn't want anything to do with me. Like, we didn't even talk that much. And we talked about in the original how like they're a mother and daughter, stepmother and daughter, but still they're in the same household, but they don't really interact that much. It doesn't even feel like they are in the same family. So I like that they brought that up and kind of chalked up to like, well, you were annoying and then you resented me. So it's like that's kind of a combo of I disliked you, you disliked me, and then eventually we found our way. And that was just like, it's an easy script writing, but it's to be like, yeah, Jenna Ortega's a pain because you were a pain, and it's your turn to get that right. So I kind of like them calling that out as like a fourth wall break of when you watch the original. Does not feel like they are a family whatsoever, but they use that as a plot device to be like, that was just part of growing up and everything like that. And I like too when they say something about because they're talking about Astrid is her father's dead, and she puts that on me, and she doesn't forgive me or yet da. And Catherine here goes, oh yeah, you did the same thing to me. And Lydia's like, my mom's still alive. So like a fun little piece. Like I literally anytime I watch Beetlejuice, I thought her mom had passed on and this was a remarriage. So it's like nice, like just a nice little kernel that no, it's just a divorce and her birth mom is alive. They're out there somewhere, but it's just so that maybe would make the divorce even more messy. So yeah, I like that they had a lot more scenes together, where in the original when they do, it's very like quippy stuff of O'Hara just being evil stepmother, and that's about it. You don't feel a connection, where now it feels like over time they have bonded. And even then she says, like, yeah, because I sold out and made a lot of money. She's like, no, like I liked you before that, but I still like you because of that. So little good character stuff they included with one another.
Absolutely.
Taylor,
I think I'm noteless officially.
I'm noteless.
Noteless. Okay. I will go first. I'm probably lowest. I will give this a 7 out of 10 for now. I don't think it would drop. I think it could go. I think the only most could go higher is like in the 7.5. And these are movies that are okay. No, actually, I'll go 7.5 because I have a new barometer. Because I gave
Let's go to
too
8.
many.
Let's bump
No.
Those are rookie
Maybe get
numbers.
to a
Let's,
7.5. But no, because I found there's too many movies. I said this before that I was giving sevens used to be my I'll watch this many times in the future, but then there were some movies that I didn't love, but because they were still made so well, giving them anything under a 7 felt bad. Like it felt yucky to be like, oh yeah, this great movie that's visually scored, but it's like a 6. No, so a 7.5 is now what I leave for. This is a movie. These sound like fucking Luigi over here. This is a movie that I will watch many times. I think they were smart, especially even if it's for the theatrical, but smart to have a segment of this film happening on Halloween night. Like that will get in that. Beetlejuice is already in the Halloween rotation, but I think it eggs it on even more. Halloween re-releases, all that stuff. So no, I had a good time. kind of fit. The girls, they both really liked it as well too. They said they weren't scared. The only time scared Gwen was when they pulled out a needle and she covered her eyes. I think it's just a needle thing, nothing more than that. Logan was fine and chill the whole time. But yeah, they liked it. No, I enjoyed it. Like I said, maybe it's not like I'm not absolutely in love with it, but I think Dylan kind of asked me that, like, why I wasn't more excited for a sequel, just because I thought, like, for me as a big fan, it's hard for me to match those expectations or match like that first one. So for me, it's like, if this is what we got, I'm happy with it. I take this much more of a, oh yeah, that's a good time for me, versus, man, that really stunk, and or this person doesn't, or like if Keaton would have came in there, I didn't think so, but if he didn't have it, I would have been like, oh, like you should have never greenlit a. Like many times, like we'll get this one new Pirates retro. That last Pirates movie, Jack Sparrow and Johnny Depp, like Johnny Depp's not Jack Sparrow in that movie. He's just lost it, right? So it's like with this, if you were to get Keaton in the room and some go, he's just not Beetlejuice anymore. He can't do it. That's right. So you don't do this movie. But like I said, the audience, he fucking killed. Our audiences was dying at everything that guy said, and I thought he did a great job. So yeah, 7.5 for me.
Very nice. I'll go in here next. On paper, there are issues that I have with this movie for sure. Breaking down some story stuff, some character stuff. We discussed it all. At the end of the day, though, I just had such a great time with this movie, start to finish. The movie has amazing pacing. I was laughing. I thought it was a great sequel as well. So I'm just gonna give it a good old 10 out of 10.
Really?
I loved it.
I'm surprised because we just had this conversation with Deadpool and Wolverine, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I would have given it a 10 now. Now this is a 10. I was surprised. I thought like a 9 was coming.
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, even there are some like story shortcomings, perhaps. I just don't feel like this is the kind of movie where I really care about that because of it's more about like the style and just the vibes of it. So yeah, but you know what? Also, I'll discuss in the episode is like, it doesn't. These numbers don't really matter. So you know, I love this movie. I'm very happy with it. So I'm just going to give it a 10, and I'm happy to do so.
There you go. Taylor Field.
Well, yeah, like I said, I only have one con, really, and it was just how long that musical number went in the church. And for that reason, I'm going 9.5 out of 10. I can't give it the perfect 10 just because of that.
The one church scene.
Just the one church. It was just too long. Like, I was laughing at the start, but yeah, it pulled me out when it got to be just a little too long. But that being said, I had a fantastic time watching this movie. I loved it a lot. I can't wait to rewatch it. I'm stoked to add this to my Halloween rotation list. It's just, yeah, I'm so happy that Michael Keaton was able to just get back into this, like I said at the start of this episode, and it feels like there's been no time that has actually passed between him playing this character, and I think that just goes to show, as a true testament, how great of an actor he is, being able to get back into this role after doing a bunch of other movies in between. But yeah, just absolutely fantastic. He was hilarious, and it was a great time. That being said, just to get to see these new characters jump into this kind of world as well, they all did a great job. Really, really happy with them. Ortega and Defoe, and just having Winona Ryder back was great too, and having these characters that we're familiar with get more of the spotlight. All in all, it's just such a great movie. I'm going to be recommending it to everyone that I see, like, oh, go see Beetlejuice, go see Beetlejuice.
Madison.
Yeah, I do. I want to take her actually to the theater to see this one. So we'll see. We'll see if we can get a sitter.
She's in like that first one though, so you gotta get her. You gotta get her.
Well, I asked her. I when I got home, I said, I think you would have really enjoyed this, and she's like, well, I didn't like the first one. I was a different person back then, and I'm a different person now. I'm like, okay.
When did she see that first one?
Oh, when she was a churchgoer.
You didn't even watch it with her for the retro?
No, we did. But when she saw it for the first time, she was a churchgoer, and that's when she said, like, I don't like this movie.
Okay, but then when she watched the retro, what was her thoughts?
She was kind of, not unbeknownst, like unknown with it. She was kind of coy, like, where am I? She wasn't really kind of shedding a lot of light on it. And as we got closer to going to see it today, then she was kind of, and I was telling her like, oh, I think you'll like it. Then she was kind of alluding to like, maybe I was a little bit too harsh on it. Because she, as I said to you in the theater, she didn't realize that Alec Baldwin's characters, like, they were dead in the first movie until we rewatched it. And she's like, oh, yeah, I didn't realize that they were ghosts the first time I watched it. Like, okay.
I'm going to have to ask you the next time, because I just think that's wild watching that movie and thinking they're alive. Because, like, What do you think when it like half the characters can't see Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, like when they're doing the whole like ripping in the face and everything? So that's a fun fact. So
It's a whole new dynamic.
yeah. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We have reviewed Beetlejuice. If you have any thoughts or questions, because we always answer our newscasts or something in the future, put them in the Discord, the Patreon, the Twitter, the Facebook, wherever you can get a hold from us. We don't have a phone number, but send us a
I
letter.
do personally have a phone number.
Drop it here.
Okay,
But
yeah,
I don't typically associate it with podcast inquiries. Hit
I'll
me
put
up
in
on
the title of the
Discord.
episode. Yeah, I'll put in the title of the episode. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning into this. Hope you have a good day, weekend, night, whatever you're listening to this. And I promise you the next time you hear from us, it will not be boring.
See ya.